Hey, MCE crew, more Americans say it's smarter to rent than buy when it comes to a home. Is that true? Let's examine this. Faced with a white-hot real estate market, renters are losing confidence they will ever own a home. The average probability of owning a home at some point in the future tumbled to 43% this year, down from 51.6% in 2021, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York survey released on Monday. That's the lowest level since the New York Fed began asking the question in 2015. High prices appear to be the driving factor, naturally. 22% of households in the survey report they plan to buy a home, but now view renting as a better financial decision. Most responders either prefer to rent, 36%, or said they were waiting for prices to come down before buying, 42%. Let's examine these outcomes here. First of all, prices are up. But as we've said with other items in the economy, yeah, they might stabilize at some point, but are they ever coming down? Are housing prices ever going to come down to a level at which people feel it's more affordable? And that feeling of affordability, that has to do with a lot of other things. Like, for example, if you're going to the supermarket and you're spending $70 where you used to spend $40, then yeah, it's going to make everything else seem very unaffordable because you got less money potentially. Now, when the respondents to this survey, and you can hear the money hound is very upset about this, when they're saying, you've got a bunch of them saying that they think renting is a smarter financial decision. Well, it could be, but is it long term? Here's why I say that. If you just got a job over in some other state and you know that posting will be temporary, then it may be a better option to rent. Reason being, you go through all of the complexities of buying the home, and then you're only there for 3 years. There's going to be a chance that there's not enough equity built up to make this a viable investment for you after you've gone through the expense of purchasing the home, furnishing the home, so on and so forth. So in a situation like that, it may be better for you to rent. But if you are in a situation where you're stable, consider this. Renting is a prospect wherein your cost of housing increases annually. And it doesn't stop. I used to live in an apartment building in Baltimore County, Maryland, when I first was getting started in life. And when I rented the apartment, I don't know how this came up, but there was a woman that was renting there, and they made a big deal about this woman because she had a very nice apartment. But she had rented from them for like 20 years. That was the big thing. She had rented for them for 20 years, and they had done all of this nice stuff to her apartment. But I actually spoke to that woman, and it came out in conversation that they never stopped raising her rent. Okay, so what happens when she gets to a point where she's not generating the same type of income that she used to generate when she was in the work world? What happens when her income becomes fixed, but the housing costs continue to rise? BlackRock and companies like that who are buying up a lot of real estate and then renting it, they would love for you to rent in perpetuity because it would definitely benefit them. But at some point with a house, your housing costs are going to stabilize. Further, you will not be able to take out any equity and put it to work in any other way if you're renting because you don't own it, okay? With a home that you own, property that you own, you can leverage and get some equity out of there, improve the property, or do other things. You do not have that possibility with a rental agreement. I always say, when you rent, you are paying mortgage, just someone else's mortgage. Okay, so here's a solution also. When we talk about renting versus buying, I know it's expensive. Now, understand, real estate is a hyper local market. So, what's going on here in my neighborhood, a mile down the road, the dynamics could be totally different. Okay. Real estate is not a national market. They feed you national numbers in the news media, but it's not a national market. Okay. It's a hyper local market. It changes based on location, style of the home, utility of the property, on and on and on. There are a lot of variables. So this falls under our rubric of redefining wealth. Now, it may be advantageous for someone to go out and purchase land, because Americans have gotten into this thing where we got to show our wealth. Okay, we got to let you know that we have money. And usually what we're demonstrating is that we have credit. But true wealth, as we redefine that, it may be more advantageous to purchase some land. Okay, land is usually going to be, depending on where you buy it, a little less expensive. Okay, now the financing, the whole financing process is a little different. But with land, you can sit it there until you are ready to do something, until your financial situation adjusts to make it affordable for you to build something. And if push comes to shove, guess what you can do? You buy 4 or 5 acres, you can plant on it. Depending on the codes in your area, you may even be able to raise livestock on it. And if all else fails, you can put a trailer out there, a double wide, and live. Okay. So, got to start thinking outside the box. One of the reasons for that is because this economy is shifting globally. And that brings us to our next subject. The dam is finally cracking. Those who have benefited from this arrangement are doing this arrangement being, this lax monetary policy and free credit, basically, throughout the world, damn near free credit throughout the world. They're doing everything in their power to patch the cracks, while those who chafed under the old chains seek a new order that suits their interest. The task now is to make sense of this complex inflection point in history. 2 statements summarize the transition from the existing global order to the next iteration. Finance dominated resources in the old order. Now the roles will reverse and real-world resources will dominate finance. We can't print our way out of scarcities. Now, what they mean by that is, let's start with the last sentence. You can't print your way out of scarcities. And we're going to get to some scarcities in our final subject here today. You can't print corn, okay? The Fed can't wave a magic wand and just make more corn appear like they can do with dollars. We covered the corn, the impending corn shortage and the rise in global corn prices on yesterday. Corn being the basis of the food chain. If it goes up, all of your other foods go up, okay? Most of your other foods go up because everything's got corn in it, okay? Some kind of way. The pig ate the corn. There's corn syrup in the, whatever it is you bought, on and on and on. So finance dominated resources in the old order. And now we're seeing resources start to dominate. Now people are saying, you know what? Look at Hungary. They said, we got grain and we're exporting a lot of it, but we got to stop that for now because we're seeing a global grain shortage and we got to feed our own people. So money doesn't matter right now to Hungary. They're saying we could sell it to you, but we're not going to because we got to eat. Okay. That's a resource centric economy, right? And we're going to be seeing more and more of that. We're seeing it develop to a degree in Russia right now because of the sanctions that have been placed on them. It just seems like that China, we had a video a while back about China and what they're doing with gold, okay? Reshuffling currencies and credit will not stop the breakdown of the global order. The global order's waste is growth, landfill economy. Playing financial tricks has extended the life of an unsustainable economic model that glorified growth from wasting resources by expanding credit The current global order fueled unsustainable consumption driven by unsustainable speculation. All right, so in this article, I'm going to link to all of this because it's important that you all be able to absorb this in totality. And what this article is saying is that it basically is saying what I've been saying for a while now. We need to redefine our definition of wealth. And it says we need to focus, we've got to make a choice. Do we focus on excess, consumption, or frugality and discipline? There's nothing wrong with being frugal, okay? Some people call it being cheap. But again, this audience does not feel the need to display its wealth like a peacock, okay? The money is ours. The money is ours. We don't have to let anybody know we have it by sitting in a big, expensive, overpriced car. We don't have to let anybody know we have it by having the biggest McMansion on the block. We can have real wealth. Real wealth being, again, going back to that land I talked about just a moment ago. The ability to have that land do something for you, whether it be raise cattle or grow vegetables and fruits, or I don't know, rent it out to someone else, play BlackRock's game, okay, and get it so that it is generating an income, or ultimately as a fallback. So, if the global financial, or when rather, the global financial house of cards finally starts to readjust, you have some place to go, okay? That double wide, man, put that right on a piece of land and you're good. And people will say, well, hey, your channel is called Money Changes Everything. I thought this was about getting rich. It is about building wealth, okay? And it is about redefining the traditional or what we've come to know as the standard definition of wealth, which translates into material possessions and possibly even excess. Now, if you look at people like Warren Buffett and Elon Musk, these guys they're famous for being frugal, okay? I don't even think Elon Musk owns a home, but he owns a lot of property, but it's for his businesses. But Warren Buffett, he drives around in a, dated Cadillac, all right? And sure, these men have access to other modes of transportation like private jets, but they need that because it facilitates the generation of more wealth. They got to be over here, they got to be over there. They certainly can't be in line in Southwest Airlines flight when billions of dollars are on the line. I think we would all agree to that. Now, let's talk about, finally, again, we talked about corn. Corn is typically the grain of choice in the Western world. Rice is the grain of choice in the East. Global rice production set to plunge 10%, threatening half of humanity. Farmers in China, India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Vietnam, the largest rice-producing countries in the world, could experience reduced output due to soaring fertilizer prices. Now, Hawaii Prepper 808 did a video the other day about an alternative fertilizer solution. We've got to start looking at those because the traditional forms of fertilizer they're becoming scarce due to all kinds of turmoil in the world. The fact of the matter is scarcity breeds price increases, okay? The International Rice Research Institute warns that harvest could plunge as much as 10% in the next season, equating to about 36 million tons of rice, or enough food to feed 500 million people, according to Bloomberg. Chemical fertilizers such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are the most applied nutrients for high-yielding rice cultivation. Farmers have been particularly vulnerable to soaring fertilizer prices, as some have reduced the amount of nutrients to save cost. This threatens future harvests as production declines could stoke food inflation for a crop that feeds half of humanity. And even though corn is the grain of choice over here in the West in terms of its utility and its pervasiveness in the food chain, uh, hell, man, rice is right there with it. Okay, in terms of the meals that we enjoy in this household, at least, and I'm sure that many of you could say the same. Let's say Himnath Badari, a senior agricultural economist at the Institute, said the 10% drop in global rice production is a very conservative estimate. He said if the Ukraine conflict continued and fertilizer prices remain high and supply limited, then the decline of rice output could be even more severe. This may trigger a full-blown global food crisis similar to the one that the UN has been warning about. The UN, President Biden, Emmanuel Macron over in France, Xi in China, they've all mentioned this, okay? So no one has any excuses. Oh, they didn't tell me about the food shortage. When you're sitting there, slicing up an onion, all right? Yeah, everybody's talking about this. So again, community farming, if you don't have the space, if you do have the space, you got to figure out, hey, what would I rather be looking at here in the worst case scenario? A beautifully manicured lawn with billions of blades of grass, or taking some of that space and converting it into something that's going to help supplement my family's caloric intake. All right, I'm going to choose the latter. So the other thing with that is, like I said before, stocking up. You've got to do that. You've definitely got to make that a part of your routine. Nothing else matters if you can't eat, okay? Not one stock, not 1 ounce of gold. Your business doesn't matter. If you can't eat, then there's no way you're going to be able to generate any other form of wealth, simply because, these vessels that our consciousnesses are contained within, they are powered by peanut butter and jelly, man, or ribeye steaks. It's up to you. But this is important. Let me end this out. Governments across Asia have kept rice prices under control to maintain social order. Remember we talked about yesterday the fact that it is said that in 3 days you will steal for food. In 30 days you'll kill for it. Social order. If people are hungry, okay, you think all of this stuff that's going on in the world today, and you sit back and you wonder, wow, why are the people taking this? There's one thing that the people will not accept, and that is hunger. They just won't do it. And countries recognize that, okay? Some countries offer generous fertilizer subsidies to farmers to keep yields plentiful. For example, India will spend $20 billion this year to shield farmers from soaring nutrient prices, up from $14 billion. That's $14 billion was in the budget before Russia invaded the Ukraine. So start to become as self-sufficient as possible on this food piece of things, because it is vital to your survival. And what is wrong? Let's say tomorrow everything just miraculously, the day after you got all of your stuff in place, you got fruit trees, you got your garden, maybe you even bought, I don't know, depending on the land that you have, maybe you even have some cows and chickens. And then the day after you did all that and you sat back and you said, I've got it all together now. And then the day after, the whole thing turned around and it was the start of 1,000 years of prosperity. What? You're still okay. You're still good. What is wrong with being able to provide for yourself? Absolutely nothing. So in the worst case or the best case, you're taken care of. You've got to worry about yourself. These governments do not know what the hell's going on. This is totally new territory for all of us, including those that appear on the news channels and The wizards are smart, and those with degrees from Yale and Harvard and Stanford and all these places, they are just as confused as the rest of us. And if you look at the events going on in the world today, it bears that out. So you can go back to fundamentals and start to look at wealth from a more traditional sense. Throw away that wealth definition that started in the 80s. Excess. Okay, greed is good. And there is an argument to be made that greed, that Gordon Gekko speech, there's an argument to be made that he was right in some sense. But when it comes down to just your personal life and just, wanting to just increase material at the expense of your financial future, that's dangerous. Okay. So, all right, guys, I will talk to you soon. To learn more about how you can achieve financial independence, check out these videos we recently posted on the Money Changes Everything channel.